Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. We're nearing the end of the first period. Vegas Golden Knights up 1-0. Alex Tuck just took a penalty. So we'll see if the Knights can kill it. But, Game 7, do or die time, man. The guy joining us on the line right now, speaking of do or die, he's been in this town for a long time covering all Vegas sports, including the Vegas Golden Knights. He does a great job. Ron Futrell over at Channel 8. Ron, how's it going?
Thank you, Brian. In the long, storied history of the Vegas Golden Knights, this is their first Game 7. Wait,
That's
they've
wild.
only been around. Oh, this is just their second year. Oh, okay. So they haven't had a real long, storied history. But it is their first Game 7, okay? It is their first Game 7. That part is true. And the story of this game, you mentioned the one goal already. William Karlsson got to go real clean goal in front of the net, got a rebound, put it in. And I'll talk about Karlsson in a moment. But that's part of the story. 1-0 Knights lead with about 6 minutes left in the first period. But there have been penalties all over the place in this. This is now the third penalty on the Knights. There's been one on the Sharks so far. And there's another one coming up here soon. So they're 4-on-4 right now.
Right now they're 4-on-4, and now San Jose has a power play.
This is
for
the
20
official
seconds.
Vegas Take play-by-play with Ron Futrell, JD Sharp, and Brian Shapiro.
So tour with the puck, gets it over to Aaron Carlson. Wait, I'm doing play-by-play off a TV broadcast.
I don't think Gary Bettman would like that.
No, he probably wouldn't. But that's what's happened so far. So now the power play, the Sharks are in their true power play.
I tell you what, I mean, if the Knights kill, 2.5 penalties basically in the first period, that's good news. It means Fleury's on his game. Obviously, the Knights not very disciplined early on in this one, but they still find themselves up 1-0. The first goal in this game is just huge. And the fact that the Knights scored early, I mean, I'm stating the obvious here. What a huge advantage. Takes the crowd a little bit out of the game, too.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and for a lot of reasons, it's huge. But the Knights have been outplayed in this game, really, so far. Well, they've been on the defensive quite a bit with having to kill 3 penalties, basically. They're in the process of
not an easy thing to do.
Sort of not an easy thing to do on the road and all that sort of stuff. Now, that being said, what they've been able to do in this game, even though I believe, are being outplayed, you take the lead, they outplayed the Sharks in Game 6. Okay, throughout the overtime and numerous times that Fleury just made another nice save. Okay, so this is the puck luck stuff that happens that you hear coaches, players talk about sometimes. The Knights should have won that game in Game 6 and been able to had fairness been part of it of where you actually outplay your opponent, you outshoot them like crazy. You should win the game in most cases. But hockey's a different beast. The other thing working in the Knights' advantage, getting that first goal was important because the team that scores first so far in this series has won every game.
Yes, very true.
They win 71% of the Game 7 if you score first in NHL history. So there is some history of that. Also, the other thing working in their advantage is, have you noticed, I know you guys have, but I'm just going to say it for your listeners, is that the underdogs have won every series in the West.
Which is unbelievable.
No, it is. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's absurd. And the winner of this series, of course, plays the Colorado Avalanche, the 8th seed.
The 8th seed that was able to beat a 1 seed.
And I'll tell you, the line ended at -105, so it ended up pretty even. But another thing working in the favor of the Knights is the fact that the Knights have never won a series at home. They've always won series on the road.
No, that is sort of interesting, yes, with that. But I'm talking about the series itself instead of the game. I'm talking instead of Game 7.
Right.
Well, last night, Dallas and Nashville. You had a wild card team against the number 1 seed, Nashville, number 1 seed in the Central, and the wild card team knocked them out. You've got St. Louis, who was a 3 seed, who won that series against Winnipeg, and now the 3-seeded Knights against the 2-seed Sharks. If the Knights can do that, I'll say underdog for lack of a better phrase, but the team that was the lowest seeded team has beaten the higher seeded team if the Knights win tonight. So there you go, for what that's worth.
I think the winner of this game beats Colorado in the series. I really do.
They'll have twice. They'll be favored.
Both teams are better than Colorado. I think the San Jose Sharks are a better team.
Mike McKinnon is for Colorado is just on a tear right now in the playoffs. So that's a guy you got to watch. They have a very good number one line, but the Knights go, pretty deep with their lines. So I would agree with you. Yes, I would agree with you, and they'll be favored. So the bookmakers would agree with that, I think, as well.
Do you know when, assuming, and it's a big assumption right now, assuming that the Knights win tonight, do you know what day Game 1 would be?
That's a very secret thing that the NHL keeps under Gary Bettman's. Let's see what
it's probably under his pillow.
It's hidden under his pillow.
That makes sense.
Beneath the floorboards, beneath the carpet.
And then the schedule fairy comes and drops him off a schedule, yes. And he pays $1.
It is crazy how quiet they keep that, which they do. They want no speculation. Now, they've had discussions with the arenas. They know which dates are open, so they have some idea. It's got to start by the weekend, but they also delay things a little bit too. They do wait till series are done, but all the series are pretty much wrapped up. I mean, all the ones in the West have wrapped up except for this one.
Right.
And then if the Knights win this, do they have home field or home ice advantage?
They have home ice over Colorado.
Yes, they do.
Would as well. So the Knights would be slight favorites. Now, I don't know if that's an advantage. Again, like I said, in the West, you've had the lower seeded team that's beaten the West, and the East. Obviously, you had Tampa Bay get swept by Columbus.
I think that's an advantage. I mean, I've never heard T-Mobile that loud like I heard it last night. What was it, 105 on the decibel meter last night or 2 nights ago?
Yeah, no, it was nuts. It was
crazy. I mean, that is an absolute advantage.
Yeah, we got a game and a half out of it. It was goofy to have it in the way that it did.
Yeah.
And that's still pretty strange. I still look back on that and shake my head and go, it was just a bizarre feeling in the arena to be there and have that happen. You guys were there. And to have it go like, what? That's the game?
And what? During the press conference, Gallant thought that the Knights should have won that game, and he was actually visibly angry that they didn't. And the Sharks coach was basically breathing a sigh of relief. He was very surprised they won that game.
Yes, they should have. They were outplayed in that game.
They were.
And outplaying a team, usually, in football, you outplay a team, you're going to win a team. Basketball, you outplay the team, you're going to win the game most of the time. They're not fluke things that you could point to that would change the outcome.
Unless the team just gets completely red hot from three.
Yeah. That Rolly Massimino won a national championship with Villanova. So flukes do happen in sports. And that was one of the worst of all time. When I say worst, I mean just craziest. But it cost UNLV later because anyway. But don't get me going into that one. But it's also today I love that the two coaches are going at it a little bit. Peter DeBoer of the Sharks made some references in the San Jose paper, that Gallant was getting too chirpy, too vocal with some of his players, and that he felt that was foolish of Gallant to do that. So Gallant responded today by calling him a clown. He says, "I don't care what that clown says," which is not. I've never heard Gallant go there.
He did do that.
He went there and called DeBoer a clown. He said, "I've had maybe 2 conversations with their bench. One was when I was complaining about a penalty, and another time when Evander Kane was yelling over at Gallant and saying, 'Put your big man in. I want to fight with your big man. Meaning, I want a piece of Ryan Reeves. So put him in. And Gallant yelled back at him like, "Okay, I put him in for 10 minutes already. I'll put him in again. Let's go." And that's when they got in the fight. I like that backstory that he was asking for it from Gallant, and Gallant gave him his way, and then Reeves kicked his butt.
Yeah.
So
I think that just adds to everything. I think that's a very good positive. When you got 2 coaches that are going back, what more could he ask for, right?
And then you had what's his name, Evander Kane, then referred to him getting knocked down by Ryan Reeves in a fight, and he says, "Oh, none of his punches even touched me. They didn't even hurt me. He fights like the Muffin Man."
And then
that's good for the sport of hockey. That you don't hear that much in hockey. You don't hear about things like that.
And the players are calling each other out for their fighting.
Right.
It's almost like old school. I want Marty McSorley back.
McSorley. Wow, you're going way back.
McSorley for the Kings and punching somebody. But it was it's sort of funny because then the announcer, Jake Wagner, who does the audio at T-Mobile Arena, great guy. I love the audio. I love his music choices and that sort of stuff. And anyway, he played Muffin Man. Do you know the Muffin Man? Muffin Man.
I remember that. I remember that. That was pretty cool. Ron, let me ask you this. You've been following this team since day one. Do you think the Vegas Golden Knights right now are a better team than when they were 12 months ago?
Yes.
Why?
And I would say Mark Stone. I'll put one guy in there, Mark Stone. Plus the addition. Oh, it's the addition of that entire line. You could say 12 months ago they did not have Pacioretty and Stastny. Okay, they had David Perron and James Neal. I would make that trade-off any day, Pacioretty and Stastny. As much now, Perron's doing a good job with St. Louis, got them into the next round of the playoffs, and has helped them do that.
Yep.
James Neal hasn't done a whole lot with Calgary. In fact, was a healthy scratch for their game 7, which was insane. Something's going on with him there in Calgary, and he's in the first year of a 5-year contract. So I would go, here's the difference with the team, pretty much, is take those two guys out, put Pacioretty and Stastny in there, and then add Mark Stone. They've got one of the premier lines in the NHL. And these guys gelled together, clicked together very early on, and I think with some time next season that these guys are all on long-term contracts now, especially Stone. Stone signed an 8-year deal, $9.5 million a year. So he's the top-paid player on the Knights, and he's proving that he can do it. So it continues with that line is only going to get better once they play more together. So the end of the first period, by the way, 1-0.
Ron, if they win this game, if the Knights win this game, can they win the Stanley Cup? Do they have a better chance this year than they had last year?
Yeah, right now anybody can win. It's wide open, and that's what a lot of people are saying about this year's Stanley Cup is that it is wide open with all the underdogs winning, with Tampa Bay out in the East, with Pittsburgh, who's won 2 of the last 3 Stanley Cups, out in the East, with Winnipeg out in the West, Calgary out in the West. Now, I'll tell you what's going to be fun is the series. If Washington gets through their series to play the Caps, because they still have to get past Carolina, they got a Game 7 coming up. So the Washington Capitals against the New York Islanders will be a fun series. That will be a tough series. I think that team, whoever wins that series, goes on to win the East and will play somebody from the West. But the Islanders are playing tough right now. And the Capitals, obviously, they won last year, so they know how to do it again. And Ovechkin's still a mean, can I say rat bastard on air?
I think you can.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, say the Caps get through and the Knights get through, and it's a Capitals-Knights rematch. Why is this team better suited to beat the Capitals than last year's?
Because of that second line.
Right, star power.
Well, yeah, because of that second line. I hope they don't play the Capitals again. If they get to the finals, okay, there's all sorts of ifs in that. But no, because the memory of the Capitals winning 4 straight against the Knights. Because remember, the Knights won the first game in that series, and then lost the next 4, just got swept. And I think they split the season series this year. Yes, I know they won here because Nate Schmidt, former Capitals player, got the game-winning goal here, and that was the game here. Remember when Ryan Reeves cold-cocked Tom Wilson? They had to steal him off the ice, and then drag him out of the arena.
I remember.
Yeah, so there's still bad blood there between those two. Maybe the NHL would like to see a rematch there, but right now, it's hard to say who's coming out of the East. But I think the winner of that Caps, if it's the Caps Islanders, but the Islanders look real strong coming out of the East right now. And but it's a year for underdogs. The battle cry now is anybody can win this. You get hot goalkeeping and you play well. Anybody can do it right now. Could the Dallas Stars do it? Wow, the way they played against Nashville last night, yes. Could St. Louis do it? It's and then you still have this Boston-Toronto thing that is still going there. Boston won big tonight, so there's all sorts of possibilities.
Just I want to throw this out there. What happened to your LA Kings this year?
Oh, they're horrible. They had a horrible. They had LA Kings this year. Well, they got a coaching change. They had the battle cry of lose for Hughes. Jack Hughes is the top player in the draft, number 1 player by far for everybody, and so they got that sort of battle cry that happened this year. So what happened to them? I don't know. They're way too talented to play that poorly. That's all there is to it. They're way too. That's why you do get rid of a coach. So That's what they've done. But they've done that twice now in the last, couple of years. So how long are you going to keep doing that until you just go with the youth movement and try to rebuild? Yes, Bruins beat the Leafs tonight. So 5-1 was that. So Boston wins that series and moves on. So that, but don't rule out Boston coming out of the East.
No, they're a good team.
They're
so if you're wondering, Ron, and to our listeners, from a gambling perspective, again, I said the Vegas Golden Knights are up 1-0. If you wanted to bet on the game, there is something called in-game wagering. Right now, the Knights are a minus 230 favorite. Sharks plus 185. Over-under is 5.5, and if you take the over, it's plus 150, so you're definitely getting a lot of value there. They're saying it's going to go under 5.5, and the Knights are going to win this game. Obviously, anything's possible. We got 2 full periods of hockey. It's only a 1-goal game. I'm stating the obvious, but whichever team scores the next goal in this one is absolutely enormous. If the Knights,
that's what's so great about hockey is that a goal can shift momentum tremendously and change a game.
Yeah.
The key was to get to Martin Jones early and get in his head because the first 4 games of this series he stuck in the net. Now he's gotten it together the last couple of games, so he's really rebounded very well, the goalkeeper for the San Jose Sharks. But getting that first goal was essential for a lot of things, certainly quiet the crowd, get in Martin Jones' head. To have William Karlsson score it, too, is sort of interesting. He's had a good run against the Sharks. Remember last year it was the Sharks and Martin Jones. He did the between-the-legs goal and got it past Jones on the breakaway and the shorthanded goal to get a hat trick to clinch the playoffs for the Knights, and they beat the Sharks in that game. And he's been pretty successful against Martin Jones and the Sharks. So all of those things point to that. As for a betting point of view, now it's do you take the Sharks at plus 185 right now to see if they can come back? No team has come back in this series yet after they've lost the first goal, after they've not scored the first goal. So that I don't think that means a whole lot. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think it getting the first goal means momentum, means all of those things. But let's go here. Sharks got the first goal, but the Knights tied it up, and it ended up being one game in the double overtime, 1-1.
Well, make no mistake about it. The Knights take a 2-0 lead when you got Marc-Andre Fleury in net. That is, you have a tremendous, enormous advantage. So,
they lock it down. Yeah, you lock it down with defense and get Fleury in the nets, and with all of that sort of stuff. And then what happens is San Jose gets desperate and they start fighting.
Right.
They start going crazy and they get some stupid penalties. That's the nature of hockey, that you start getting out of your game when you get behind, and that hurts you. And you could say that about a lot of sports, but I think in a sport that's as physical as hockey and allows you to smack into your opponent and basically beat them up.
Yeah, that's true.
Do this in the NBA. You couldn't go drive with you couldn't take the comparison to the NBA. The guy with the ball picking the ball up court. You couldn't just go running up and slam into it. But in hockey, it's like, I was going to say a game we used to play as kids. When somebody had the ball, I can't say the name of that game. Smear something. When the kids had the ball, you run around the playground, or whoever had the ball, you jump on them and try to beat them up, right? And then you throw the ball around to the next guy.
Sounds like rugby.
Yeah, rugby, sort of rugby.
Right.
Let's go rugby.
Oh, Ron, let me ask you this, okay? You've been doing this for 35 years, somewhere along there, right? What is this? Okay, you've seen everything in this town. What has this ride been like for you, for the first professional franchise in Las Vegas, a team to make it to the finals of the Stanley Cup, and now back in the playoffs in Game 7? What has this ride been like for you? Did you ever think we would see this?
Yes, I did think eventually it would happen. At some point, I didn't think it would happen this quickly and be this good with the Knights and what they're doing. No, it does remind me. The only thing I can compare it to was Rebel basketball, and in 1990 when they won the national championship. The Rebels had a 10-year run where they were the kings of this city, and they wore Rebel red to school. The teachers taught in the classroom with charts were on the wall for Jerry Tarkanian. And, they all knew how to do the shark slap and all that sort of stuff. By the way, that team in San Jose has stolen a lot of the names from us, haven't they?
They really have. You're right.
They call it the Shark Tank there. No, the Shark Tank is on Maryland Parkway.
You're right.
Okay, but anyway, so
that's a good point.
bitter. I'm bitter about that. But anyway, so that feeling of unity that sports can bring to a community that we have not had for 28 years, that we've been missing in this city.
Oh, no doubt.
Is now back, and it feels like that same sort of feel where, okay, I'll say this: I go around town, I go into Costco, getting gas. People will stop me and see me, and they'll say, "Hey, what do you think of the game? What do you think of the game? What do you think of the night's going to do? What do you think is going to happen here?" That used to be the same thing with Rebel basketball. Hey, Rebels are playing at Oklahoma. Can they beat Billy Tubbs and the Sooners? I don't know, man. That's going to be tough. It's on CBS at 1 o'clock, so you mow your lawn earlier in the day. You get the barbecue going. You invite friends over, and you watch the game on CBS that afternoon because it was a network broadcast with Rebel basketball, Tark against Tubbs. That happened in this city, and it's happening again now with the Knights, where people are getting together to go to watch parties and having parties at the house, come on over and do that sort of stuff. And it does help to bind the community together, because heaven knows we got nothing else in this community that does bind us in that sense.
Well, October, it really helped bring the community together, especially with October 1, the way that the community rallied around this team and the way this team rallied around the community, quite frankly. And I think it really helped the healing process in what was just an awful situation. I think the Knights were a big part of that last year.
Yes, that was another factor in there. And I mentioned to management, and after all of this happened, and we went, it was probably now October 20th, somewhere middle of October, and I saw a couple of guys in the management team in the elevator at T-Mobile Arena, and I said, you know what, guys? I said, I really appreciate the way you guys treated that situation with reverence, and I used the word reverence. I said, I really do appreciate that, and they sort of brushed off like, yeah, of course we did, of course, we were going to do it, and I said, yeah, I know, but you could have screwed that up. You could have been stupid. You could have done something wrong. You could have made a faux pas. You didn't. You did it the right way, and you did it for this community. And you guys are all new guys here in town. You've only been here 6 months to a year, okay?
Right.
I do appreciate how well you guys handled that with reverence as they did, and did it totally appropriately. And that did help, I think, in the process, because it was something that brought this community together. Yes, would we have healed without the Knights? Yes, it would have happened. But it was a common place for us to meet and grieve, for that matter, and go through that process. And it helped, yes.
No question. Yeah, no question. I thought they really were huge when it came to that horrible tragedy, and they did a great job bringing the community together. I think Game 1 last year, I don't think there was one dry eye in the arena. It really was something special, something to behold, really. And, now we're looking at a team that, if they can get past San Jose tonight, and you don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves, a lot of hockey to be played here, 2 periods. But if they're able to do it, they could make another run, perhaps, at a Stanley Cup final. And it's unsurmountable. I mean, it's amazing. It's ridiculous, whatever word you want to use. It's insane.
Yes, no, it is crazy to think about that, and that they would be favored and have home ice advantage against Colorado. So then, I'm getting way ahead of myself in my mind to go, okay, now after that series, they're in the Western Finals, and they could win the West again and go to the Cup. It's just insane to think about that, especially with the way this season started for this team. They sucked at the start of the season. They were struggling. They couldn't score goals. They had nobody that was scoring goals on that team early in the season. They would get 1 or 2 goals a game, and that was it for the first 2 months. And, a few changes were made, obviously, in the Pacioretty, Stone, Stasny line started clicking once they got Mark Stone right before the end of the trading deadline. Then they took off. Now, they had a bad run at the end of the season, but I don't really count.
Okay, so say the Knights win this game. They beat the Avalanche in 5. Then they face likely the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Finals.
Or St. Louis, Dallas or St. Louis, but Dallas would be fun. That'd be a great series.
Now, what kind of a matchup is that? How do you take that matchup?
Oh boy, how do I take that matchup? The Knights would have home ice advantage. They'd be favored in it. They might be against St. Louis as well. I don't know what St. Louis's record was. I know they're a 3 seed, but against Dallas, they would be favored in that series to win that series. But hockey, there's such a fine line. You could outplay a team for an entire game. and lose 2-1 because puck luck was not on your side. So goofy, you always have to figure that in. That strange things and goofy things happen in hockey.
Right.
But,
so if the Knights win this game,
Dallas is motivated. Dallas is fired up. Dallas is on a mission right now. They have not been here for I think 5-7 years since they've been to the playoffs, and now they're in the second round. And so they get some fans that are pretty fired up.
Well, Ron, I always appreciate it when you take the time to join us, my man. Great job, and we will catch you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yeah. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I'm here at the station minding the fort and editing some highlights, and did the early sports here at Channel 8. And so, Chris Matthews is off in San Jose covering the team. So thank you. No, I appreciate you having me on and talking a little hockey right now. So we'll see what happens tonight. We've got about 6 minutes until the end of this intermission, and they'll start out in the second period and see if they can protect this 1-0 lead.
Hey, Ron, now don't forget, TJ Otzelberg is coming home to you.
I won't forget.
Thanks for coming on, Ron. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. There you go. It's Ron Futrell from Channel 8. Great job covering the Vegas Golden Knights. Channel 8 does a great job, too, by the way. Chris Matthews also very good at what he does. So, that's it, folks. We're going to break down this game tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a Vegas Golden Knights victory. Couldn't ask for a better start, though. Up 1-0 on the road. Just getting ready to start the second period. I know I'm going to head down and watch the game. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate it. Check us out on Twitter, @TheVegasTake. If you missed any of our stuff today, we post all of our audio on there. The legend, Ken Thompson, coming up next. Thanks for joining us again, everybody. We appreciate it. The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.